strong, untilted on the track. We've been real all along. This more than the pod. It's the family we bring. Every story we share got the truth in the swing. We speak from the soul, never playing no games. Forever stay real. We the hashtag unfiltered gang.
Well, hey y'all. It's your girl Kay, and welcome back to Unfiltered the podcast. You already know we keep it real here, and today we're talking about something so important, autism awareness. We're diving into what autism really is and what it's not, and how we can all do better when it comes to understanding and supporting the autism community. We're joining me today, I have three amazing guests. First up is Miss Cleo, who's a registered behavioral technician, also known as an RBT. We have Miss K, who is a special education autism teacher and an early intervention practitioner. And last but not least, we have Miss S, who is a first grade teacher and an autism advocate who has experience in the field. Thank you all for being here today, and I'm going to start bringing you guys up. Give me 1 second.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so um, let's just start from the top. I'm going to go around asking you guys the questions, and one by one, you guys will just answer in your own format. Until it's your turn, just stay muted. I'm going to start off with Miss K, then I'll go to Cleo, and then I'll go to Miss S, and we'll go from there. So let's start from the top. For those who don't know, what exactly do you do in your field of work, and what made you want to do this kind of work?
Oh, you might hear my kids a little bit in the background because they're trying to get to me.
It's
I
okay.
have two little twins, so they're
It's
very
okay.
busy.
It's
But
okay, mom life.
I am a special education teacher and an early intervention practitioner. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I really enjoy the work that I do with the families and with children with autism. So nothing brings me greater joy than to be able to work with the autism population of students. They're wonderful.
Thank you, Miss K. I'm gonna mute you and then unmute you, okay?
Yes.
Miss Cleo?
Hi, everyone. I'm Cleo. I'm an RBT, registered behavioral technician. I first got into this field dealing with adults who were autistic and intellectually disabled in a day program. Then I moved on to the clinic setting to work with younger kids. Now I work into the community, so I go into schools, homes, daycares, summer camps, and I've been doing that for 2 years on that avenue. So altogether, it's been about 4.5 years just educating myself and continuing to help individuals with autism to the best of my ability. And I got into this field because my oldest, well, my second child, actually, I have 4 girls. My second is neurodivergent as well. And I kept getting, oh, she's a girl, that's how she is. Oh, it's okay, she'll grow out of it. And so I wanted to learn how to better parent her at home to really give her a leg up in life.
Thank you so much, Miss Cleo. And Miss S?
Okay, what was the questions?
The question is, for those who don't know, what exactly do you do in your field of work, and what made you want to do this kind of work?
Okay, well, I'm a first grade teacher and I've been teaching for like 5 years. What really made me want to do this because I just feel like I've been working with kids like my whole life. And then I also have a little sister who's autistic, so yeah.
Thank you. What's one of the biggest myths or misunderstandings you hear about autism? I'm going to start with you, Miss.
I think one of the biggest misunderstandings and myth is people tend to believe that children with autism are not smart, or when I always go somewhere and tell them what I actually do, and they're like, oh, well, that's a very hard job, and it's really not really that hard. I find them to be one of the most sweetest population of children to ever work with. They're so eager to learn. They're very smart. They're very, they're very different in various different ways, and they teach you so much. So I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings. And they're just like any other regular kid. They just have a different way of expressing themselves, a different way of learning. And I think that's one of the biggest misunderstandings that people come up with. They're thinking that they're all autistic kids are like, are violent, or, it's really difficult. How do you manage? But it's really not. If you learn specific strategies that you can learn to know how to work with them, they are the most loving kids ever. And I prefer to work with autistic population. I was a general education teacher for quite some time. And then I started working with autistic kids. And now that's all I know. That's all I want to know. Because once I started working with children with autism, it just was like a big light bulb just turned on for me, working with those population of kids. So,
Thank you so much, Miss K.
mhm.
Miss Cleo?
Yes. So for me, it's hard to pick just one, because there's such a stereotype against autism, right? So for you to say like pick one thing, I'm kind of similar to Miss K, definitely people think that they're not smart. But I believe that all forms of communication, like in behavior is communication. So all forms of behavior is communication, right? So it's about getting to know the kid, pairing with the kid, because all of them are individuals. This is called a spectrum for a reason. You can't put them in a cookie cutter type of situation and think that what's going to work for one kid is going to work for another. It's very personalized. So you hear or see, I hear it. I go into schools and daycares and stuff like that, and I hear a lot of, oh, they're just bad, or they'll never listen. They can't do this, or they can't do that. And that's not the case. It's just they're not receptive to the individual. I also believe that not everybody is for every kiddo. You know what I mean? So if you have to like get taken off of a case, or a kid needs to get switched in another room in order to grow, that's just what it is. It's not personal. It's a messy job, but it is so, and I say messy because, you're in a classroom or a daycare with multiple kids. So you're working with your kid, but you're working with all of the kids at the same time, right? And at least in my aspect of it, right? And it's just about getting to know all of their peers so that you could best suit the kiddo that you're working with. There's so many dynamics and levels to it, right? But I know from my experience that kids with autism could learn because they're super smart. It's just a matter of getting through to them, right? And man, they are just so smart. They see things in a way that we can't, and I just admire it so much. It's a very rewarding field, and it's exciting, to be able to take what I do at work and take it home so that my kiddos are good too. Because what I do is applied behavioral analysis, which is individualized, and it's a lot of like looking at everything from the outside in, and it's just really dope. It's really cool. I think my kids benefit a lot having me as a parent because I work with autistic kids.
Thank you, Miss Cleo. And Miss S?
I feel like they said some really good stuff, so it's hard to come back behind them. But I feel like one thing that people think is like it's like something that can be cured or anything like that when it's not. I don't feel like it's a disease. It's not an illness. It's not something that can be fixed. It's just you adapting to them and learning things like as a parent, learning how to, be there for your kid and like different things like that. Like being teachable. I feel like even as a parent or as a teacher, you have to be teachable. So you have to learn how they can learn so that you can, like she was saying, get through to the kid and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Miss S. All right. Miss K, Miss Cleo, and Miss S, you work so closely with kids and families. What's one moment or story that really stuck with you in this line of work? Miss K, I'm gonna unmute you now. Hold on. Okay.
You said what one? I didn't
You,
catch that.
no, you're
One
okay.
one
Wh-
story that
One
stuck with
more.
me.
Yes.
Well, it's so many. I mean, over the course of over 20 years, I can write a book. But I think the most rewarding thing that I can see working with families in early intervention is me being that foundation and coming in the beginning, right? And then when they see me send me pictures, a few years later, or by the time they age out at the age of 3, because early intervention is from birth to 3, um, like you see the progress and the growth. And I think that's one of the most enjoyable and most greatest moments of my life to be able to experience that, you know? So if I had to say, I can't just pick one because there's been so many great moments.
Thank you so much, Miss K.
You're welcome.
Miss Cleo.
I have to agree as far as not being able to pick one, right? But it is very rewarding and humbling to know that you had a small part to do with a kiddo's growth. And I say small part because I just believe that I can't control or make anyone do anything. So like the outcome, like it's my effort doesn't necessarily like say what the outcome's going to be, right? It's all up to the kiddo. But watching them get excited when I walk in the room, watching them remember me. So if I'm on their case last summer and then we go through a whole school year, a whole summer, and then I'm with them the school year after that, and then they recognize me and they work well with me, like those things are very rewarding. That tells me that I made enough of an impression when I was with them last time, right? That I must have done something right. It's when the teachers or paras that work in the school, and they're like, wow, they're so much better since you started on the case, since you guys came in, since you guys took over, meaning like the company I work for, or myself. And to hear them say, we never thought they were going to do X, Y, and Z, and they're doing X, Y, and Z, right? And that's very rewarding because I'm able to give people a different perspective on where they could like view switch and be like, wait, maybe I shouldn't think that way anymore.
Okay, understandable. Miss S.
I swear they're taking my answers. Like, are y'all in my head? Are y'all like, you know, especially Miss Cleo over here? I'm literally like, yes, you're literally saying it right on point. Like, but I definitely think that's the part that is rewarding because you get to see like watching them grow through the progress and then seeing where they once was to where they become. And like she said, just knowing that you did have a part in that, it's like, I am doing this for some, huh? Like, okay.
All right. Thank you, Miss S. You're doing fantastic. All you ladies are doing fantastic. I know there was a lot of nerves coming up here, but you guys are doing fantastic and letting us know more about autism than we already knew, and also debunking a lot of myths that a lot of us did know were out there because I knew of some, but a lot of us didn't know. And people often think autism is a limitation, but I've heard so many stories that prove it really is just a different way of experiencing the world. What's something you've learned What's something you've learned from the individuals you work with? Miss K?
Oh, I learned a lot. I learned the love, I learned patience. Um I learned to listen. Um what else did I learn? I learned so much, you know. Um I learned a lot from the families, from going into homes, from their different cultural backgrounds. You learn so much. You get to meet so many different people. Um, and I learned to listen, to my families, and get to build relationships that's long lasting forever. Like I said, I can see a child in early intervention, and then they still sending me pictures on how they're progressing and how they're doing, even after I leave the home. So that's one of the most greatest gifts I can receive and learn from different people.
That's
So
awesome. Thank you, Miss K. Miss Cleo?
So the kiddos teach me a lot. They really do. One of the things I remember being so life is pressure, right? We all have different pressures in personal life, work life. We all have to answer to somebody, a boss, whatever, right? And then each kiddo has these different goals, and then the process of the paperwork, so on and so forth, right? So very early on, my kids all taught me how to like take that pause, right? Um, because when you're dealing with autistic kiddos, even though if it's a spectrum and all of them are different, 9 times out of 10 in my experience is they need that pause before in order to like retain or answer or decide or show some type of behavior verbally in sign, gestures, something in order to communicate back with me, right? So it was teaching me how it's okay that life doesn't have to be so fast paced. Because we all feel like these, just pressures of doing things the right way, right? No matter where it's coming from. And so that was like top tier for me is allowing people to have that break, which then, like Miss K said, further develops my ability to listen and my patience and my understanding and, like not, I don't know, like a lot of autistic kiddos in my experience, like not all, but they'll just come to you and rush to you and hug you like, and it's not even your kiddo that you're working with, and they'll squeeze you so tight, and it's like, wow, okay, you see me in this room, like, I'm here, right? I don't know, it's just beautiful. So it's like, I feel that if I didn't have kids of my own and I was a germaphobe, that would go away really fast working with autistic kids.
Thank you, Miss Cleo. Miss S?
Okay, I would say that definitely taught me patience. I feel like that was like the biggest thing for me is teaching me patience, not even just I feel like they taught me patience in a different type of way of like learning how to deal with kids in general, dealing with people in general, honestly. Cuz I don't feel like I'm a people person like that, but I feel like I became that, being able to like stand in front of kids and like make mistakes and they know that I'm just like them, things like that.
She had the just like them. Very correct. I know the biggest for a little bit now, just like I know Miss Cleo for almost 6 years. I know Miss K for a little bit over 2 months, but yeah, just like the kids. Um, how important is early intervention and what does that look like for a child and their family? Miss K?
early intervention is very important for a child and their family, especially if a family is having needs some strategies and needs some support and issues, have an issue with the child, and being delayed in some type of developmentally area, like crawling, walking, speaking. Um, we're the first ones to come in to, you know, we do the family training model where we work with families on giving them different strategies that they can carry over in their daily routines to be able to work with the kids. So we're very important because we're the foundation of everything, you know. We provide the speech services, the OT, DI services that a child may need, and these services can be very successful, you know. Oh, I'm so sorry. You might hear my kids in the background. They're still trying to get to me. They're like, Mom, come. So I think that having early intervention is very important because you're going to learn, you know, a lot about your child. You're going to learn different strategies you can use in the home to carry over. And they'll help you with transitioning from getting the IFSP, which is an individual family service plan, to getting an IEP, which is an individualized education plan, because they're the first one to refer you to your school district if you, the parent, sign off on wanting them to share that information. Okay?
Thank you, Miss K.
You're welcome.
I just know how you are, Kay. I love you so much. Okay, so early intervention is extremely important, but I don't think it gets talked about a lot. Like Miss Kay had mentioned it, with culturals, right? Like you go into different houses, you meet different parents, and different cultures have different things. And so I feel like the most important part starts with the mounds of paperwork that the parent has to go through to advocate for their children. I feel like that is the start, because any doctor can tell a parent whatever, that this is this or this is what we feel, and here's your referral, go here, see what they mean, whatever. But it's up to the parent to put in that first step, which I know is like the hardest part. I know a lot of kiddos, for example, that have verbal delays, that they don't have an AAC device to communicate because mom and dad think that, eventually they'll just start. So it makes it, I feel like that's where the real foundation is. Myself, I've had to get services for 2 of my 4 children, occupational therapy and speech therapy. And it's a lot of paperwork, it's a lot of appointments, right? But it took me to do that in order for the kiddos to get what they deserve, right? And the parents feeling supported, right, in that process when they do finally do it. But I think it can make a load of difference. That was my cat, sorry, I guess. Because, for example, my 9-year-old didn't get services till she was 3 for her speech because of COVID. And the IU lost her paperwork, so on and so forth. So no one had come in to see her. And then my youngest started getting services at 17 months. And now she's already talking better than my 9-year-old did at 5 or 6. So I feel like it really does make a huge difference to get your kiddos in there, trust the doctors, take the referrals, do the paperwork, get the support, do whatever you can for your kiddos, because like advocacy starts with the parent.
Miss F?
Okay. Can you give me the question one more time?
Yes, ma'am. How important is early intervention, and what does that look like for a child and their family?
Um, is that like, I'm a little confused on the question. Is that like when they first like find out?
Yeah, early intervention is usually once you get, let's just say not even a diagnosis, but you go to get a diagnosis and you have a team come in and evaluate your little one
Mm-hmm.
to let them know, I just went through this, so this is how I know this. to let you know, like, hey, this is what they need, this is what they scored on whatever te however they do their testing,
Mm-hmm.
and this is what they need. They need speech, they need developmental, they need occupational therapy. So that's what early intervention is. And it's right before preschool because some kids, like in my state, they age out at the age of 3 and then they go to preschool. But preschool already has all this early intervention stuff so that they can know and they can be like, okay, she needs these special educational classes
Right.
or she knows these autistic classes. So how important do you think that is, and what does, and how important, I'm going to change up the question for you a little bit, but how important is early intervention, do you think is early intervention, and what do you think, or how do you think that affects a child and their family?
I think that I think it is important because I feel like um that's an easier way to kind of set them up for success when they do go to school. If you're ahead of it, not like ahead of it, but like if you know earlier, then you can kind of know what kind of plan or what kind of path they would take throughout school. So like when you get there, the teachers can be like, "Oh, we can take this route," learning like little sensory things that they have, different things like that. I do think it's very important though.
Thank you, Miss F. Okay, let's talk about parents for a second. What advice do you give parents who are just starting their journey, like me, with a new autism diagnosis? Miss K?
So I know that there are support groups that are out there that you can research and look up in your community to be a part of. I think that would be a great recommendation to start with is looking at a support group. I know it's a support group called SPAN that usually help people with the process of children when they do get go from an IFSP to an IEP. There's a support group that gives information. Always do your research on your child diagnosis and different things that are out there that can pretty much help them. You know, seek outside resources as well. Like also, even if a child to me is getting speech OT services in school, you can also seek to get private, if your insurance covers private OT and speech sessions, just to also help out even a little bit more, because that's important. So I think those are my recommendations.
Thank you, Miss
Joining
K.
some type of support group and getting additional services is always good and important.
Thank you, Miss K. Miss Cleo?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Miss K, but to just get to, no matter how frustrating it may be, no matter how hard it may be, because it is frustrating, it is hard when you're just starting off. You know, the paperwork seems overwhelming. Finding the right school, some families have to move so that they could get the right school for their kids. It's not an easy task, right? Kiddos that are autistic, sometimes they just get this bad rep where some daycares won't even accept them, you know? They have to use somebody else's address, you know, and zip code and stuff. So it's just really hard, right? And so again, just like be their kid's biggest supporter. If something doesn't feel right, as at the end of the day, autistic or not, like, you know, if your kid's not comfortable, you know, if they don't like somebody, you know, if, you know, they don't feel safe or if they're acting, you know, out of the norm. And I think it's so important to really hone in on those things and ask those questions. Like, what did my kid do today? What did you teach my kid? Because, you know, whether we like it or not, the stigmas are very real. So if a kid is going to mouth, let's say they're nonverbal and they're mouthing, and developmentally they're an 18-month-old, but they're really tall and they're 6 years old and they're thrown into this first grade category, it's like, oh, nope, don't give them crayons. They can't draw because they mouth things, as opposed to just someone sitting with them so that they can still experience things just like everybody else. So just be your kid's biggest advocator, and which is like Kay saying, like, do your research, man. Don't be scared to speak up and ask those questions and want a communication chart and want updates and want pictures, like, just, yeah. If your kid
Thank you,
can't speak for themselves, like, you got to speak for them.
Thank you, Miss Cleo. And Miss S?
I agree 100%. I feel like learning patience as like a parent, because like she said, it does get frustrating and it does get like overwhelming sometimes, but like having the support to like help you, like sometimes you go to support groups and you're learning things that you didn't know, reading up on that, being able to like do your research and learn more about it for yourself, and that could essentially, benefit the whole household, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. If you guys have any questions, I'm almost done. This is my last question for the ladies, and then you guys can ask your questions in the comments, and whoever wants to answer it can answer them. All three of you guys don't have to answer them. Whoever wants to answer can answer them. So Miss K's back. So there's still so much stigma and misunderstanding out there. What can we as a community do to help spread real awareness and acceptance?
Bringing awareness. So like I said, join a support group in your community, maybe even start one, right? You might want to start your own support group for autism parents and bring awareness in the community. Talk to your council person, talk to the people at City Hall in your community, and start, celebrating autism awareness and doing different podcasts and inviting different professionals, into the podcast live stream, similar to what you're doing, to get more resources and information, about it. So the only way you're going to be able to bring awareness if we all work together in the community as a team and want to advocate and talk about these things, and bring professionals in that's going to give feedback on, best practices, best strategies in the process of being able to work with our population of students, which are students with disabilities and students with autism, in the community. Because it's not just about children. Other children with disabilities have various different, not just autism, but just children with disabilities as a whole. We want to educate everybody and make them feel a sense of awareness and also a sense of belonging in the community. I think that's important. Okay?
Thank you so much, Miss K.
No problem.
Miss Cleo.
So make it the norm to accept and not judge that kid that's having a meltdown in aisle 3 in the grocery store. Make it the norm to not think that it's the parents when a kid is overstimulated and you don't understand why they're screaming or crying. Be more accepting during holidays. Like Halloween's a big one, because that's when you get to go to 20 people, like 20 blocks, and get candy from strangers, which is what you normally wouldn't be able to do, right? But decorate your house in a sense where it's safe for these kiddos. Make it fun, friendly, no strobe lights, in case they struggle with epilepsy. Educate other people, join social media groups, right? Get the word out there. Be honest and raw and vulnerable on here, even, whatever platform you have. just let your voice be heard. Because it's so funny how like the algorithm works, right? And it'll really connect you with people that want to hear your message and support what you support, and you just don't know until you open your mouth.
Thank you so much, Miss Cleo. And Miss S?
Y'all already know I'm finna say this. I agree. I agree with everything the lady said. I think that speaking out about it, telling your experience, like different things, if you do work with kids with autism, like we've been saying the whole time, be their voice. They can't, sometimes they can't speak out, so it's for us to do, you know what I mean? Like, get on here, freely talk about it. You get frustrated sometimes as a parent who is dealing with it, but you also don't know how many people on this platform who deals with the same thing you're dealing with, you know what I mean? So just having that support and speaking out about it, honestly.
Thank you so much, Miss S. And if we have any questions in the comments, okay, hold on. Whoever wants to answer these, you can unmute. Um, Miss K, do you know how to unmute yet? Maybe so. I'm editing this out. But how do you deal with people that look at you in a way when your child gets overwhelmed in the store?
I just said to straighten your crown. You don't owe anyone an explanation. And I say that because kids will be kids. And there's always going to be certain people who will, like I said, try to judge the parent or judge the child. And so by saying like, oh, they're autistic, not everybody's going to have an understanding for that. And it's really nobody's business, because this little meltdown is such a small part of who they are, so like my suggestion is to just like keep the diagnosis out of it. It's none of their business. But just remind yourself of how good you're doing. Talk to people and say, listen, da 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 had a meltdown in this grocery store, and this crazy lady was staring at me funny, and then this other guy said, oh, why don't you control your kid? And it was all these comments, and I really just felt like crying, and I didn't even want to buy anything, and I wanted to just up and leave the store. It is okay to tell somebody that supports you and loves you how you really feel, because the help can't help you if you don't open your mouth. I'm like getting all teary eyed, bro, because like that stuff is so real. That stuff is so real. The judgment from other people that don't know any better, and like who cares if they know any better, right? Just know that you are doing the best you can. And Stacy, I believe you. Like I'm crying because like I can only imagine how many times you just wanted to be like, all right, we don't have to buy anything. I didn't even eat dinner, and leave because it's hard.
Miss K, do you have anything you want to add to that?
All right, add to what in regards to
One of the questions in the comments was, how do you deal with people that look at you in a way when your child gets overwhelmed in the supermarket?
I mean, people are going to be people, I really, everybody doesn't have that ability of to understanding kids or have kids to know how it is to deal with kids or even great with dealing with kids. So I just say ignore and do what you need to do best for you. That's my best, you understand your child, so that's all that matters, right? And maybe sometimes when you go out, maybe you need to bring a PEX board or something that you'll know. You need to know your child too to be able to give them things that are kind of distract them off of having those triggers or episodes. That's what I do. I always do a preference assessment on my kids. And and I find out their likes and dislikes, and I know if something is too much for them, I figure it out. So, maybe you need to put headphones on, maybe it may be over too stimulating for them and you may need to bring their iPad or something else. But, You should never let what other people think, ignorance, stop you from going into a grocery store or feeling comfortable in your own skin, because people are going to be people. That
And
part.
then and then before I turn off the mic so I can ask Miss S, because there's another question in the comments. How do you get your significant other to realize your child is on the spectrum?
Hello?
Yes, the question was, how do
Well,
you
that
get,
significant other needs to be able to be educated as well. Maybe you need to go to a counseling session. Maybe they need to go, you need to take them to the developmental pediatrician appointments and, have the developmental pediatrician speak to that parent about, what's going on with your child and how to get to better know your child. You're going to have to take the step as a parent to be able to educate yourself and involve that other significant other into some of the doctor's appointments and everything else that you're going through, because you guys are supposed to be in it together and it's a team, and you're going to need to be able to support one another. And that's what's going to make it more effective for your child. So that's my recommendation.
thank you, Miss K. Miss Miss S, well, Miss Cleo, just answer that one, and then I'll ask both of them to Miss S.
Well, my first question would be, has there been a diagnosis? Is this something that is concrete? Is it just some things that you see and then your significant other is like, no, 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 or is it a bunch of people telling him and he just doesn't want to accept it? Because that kind of would change how, what my suggestion would be. If there's no diagnosis, get them tested, right? If you're seeing some things, just get the assessment. Talk to their pediatrician. If there is a diagnosis and they're still not accepting that, now you have to wear both hats. Take them to every appointment. Do what you got to do and plug in, and just pray that your significant other eventually is going to get on board, because they're going to see everything that you're doing for the child, and then they're going to see the improvement that the child has. So eventually they're going to be like, okay, this must have worked. This must be true.
The person said, no, it's not concrete. She is getting help, just no diagnosis as of yet.
Yeah. So, yeah, it still stands, like, diagnosis or no diagnosis. You know what I mean? Like, you wear both hats. So with no diagnosis, just make sure that you are showing up to every appointment, you are wearing both hats, you're advocating for that kiddo. And I just have faith that eventually your significant other is going to get on board, because they're really not going to have a choice not to. They're going to see the improvement in your child. No matter what, they're going to love your child. So they will be there to support, and eventually, I believe that they'll become open-minded, because that's what matters at the end of the day, like you and their child's well-being.
Thank you, Cleo. And Miss S, both questions to you right now. So, what would you tell a parent? Let me see. Hold on. Wait, give me a second. Give me a second. My other device.
I think the first question was how do you deal with people that look at you in a way where your child gets overwhelmed in the store?
Yes, yes,
I
ma'am.
feel like people are going to be people, and because like you're a child and your situation, I feel like you just should know how to handle it. Like, do whatever you got to do for your child. If your child is having a meltdown but you know how to calm them, I would say, like, kind of block everybody out in that moment, because like, and just attend to your child. I would say for everybody to mind their business, but that's impossible. So I mean, you can't make anybody mind their own business, but people are going to be people. They're going to have something to say. And I feel like it's easy to look at something and try to judge that situation when you really don't even know what's going on behind it. So, yeah, I would say just focus on your child. Make sure they got everything they need, or try doing different things like the headphones and different stuff like that. Just so it may not be, because it is sometimes where kids just do get overwhelmed by the amount of people around them. So just things like that, like learning little sensory things for them, and then mind your business. If my baby fall out in the stove, dang, what happened this time? All right, we about to get up and dust your stuff off, But just, not only encouraging your kid, but, keeping that encouragement for yourself as well. Because it does get frustrating, but yeah.
And then the second question was, I know, love you. The second question was, how do you deal with a partner who doesn't accept that, hold on, let me get this right. How do you get your significant other to realize your child is on the spectrum? And then they also added, there hasn't been a concrete diagnosis, but there has been like evaluations going on.
Okay, so um I feel like with your child getting help, that is a start to anything. But just like you said, like she said, to bring them to like different appointments and stuff like that, so they can see for themselves, like if it's something that's going on at home. Some things also too, like that may start at home. Some kids just have to grow out of it. It's not necessarily that they're on the spectrum or anything. It's just they do certain things that may look at it like, I don't know if something's wrong, but some kids, they just have to grow out of certain stuff too. Like as far as them being verbal, sometimes they might talk at home, but then when they go in public, everybody be like, do they even know how to speak? But it's just them choosing not to speak in other front of people until they get comfortable enough to do that. So just learning different things like that. But yeah, I would say just have them be more involved to see for themselves, like, okay, maybe there has, without it even being a concrete diagnosis, to see that them doing their research and stuff like that make it make sense for them. Like, okay, maybe we do need to buckle down on this.
Thank you, Miss S. This all has been so powerful, and I know our listeners love all the education you guys have given us from the Unfiltered family, and I, as a mom of a little sassy pants who was just diagnosed with autism. We thank you so much for all that you guys do because it's really about understanding and not judging. Everyone deserves to be seen, supported, and celebrated for who they are. Before we wrap it up, if there's one message you could leave with the listeners about autism awareness and acceptance, what would it be? Miss K?
One message.
That you could leave with the listeners about autism awareness and acceptance, what would it be?
I don't know. I'm trying to see. I would say that autism, children with autism are unique. They are like pieces of the puzzle. They're all, different, but they are very unique. And that it's very important for us to become more aware of children with autism in society, and be more accepting to them, and become more educated about students with autism disabilities. So when you do go to a grocery store and see a parent that may have a child that's having a meltdown, you can look over and say, hey, do you want me to hold your bag, or you need a little bit of help or assistance, until, he or she calms down, and not look over and judge. How about look over and help, or ask
Thank
for help, So I guess if I had to leave the listeners with anything, I think I have to leave them with that.
thank you so much, Miss K.
You're welcome.
And you, Miss Cleo?
That autism's real. It's not going anywhere. If anything, the numbers are increasing. So it is going to, at some point or another, affect you in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's someone you care about, a friend, doesn't necessarily have to be in your family, right? So why not get on board now? to educate yourself as best as you can, to be an advocate for those who don't have their own voice. You know, if you would do it for a kiddo that's not neurodivergent and you would do it for your kiddo, I think that's just enough reason to do it for all kiddos. I feel that no. I was going to get on my soapbox for a second. I'm just so passionate, right? That's why I said no, because at the end of the day, it is very hard to be a parent of an autistic kid, to work with autistic children. And it takes a lot, right? But there's been a lot of amazing points. So remain open-minded, remain teachable, remain vulnerable. Sometimes it's really hard to ask for help. So if you can't ask for help, like just be the one to accept the help. You know, if you can ask for help and not accept it, you know, like vice versa. So make sure if that you're just not doing this alone, man. Don't be embarrassed. Don't let that like toxic voice that you're not doing enough or you're not good enough win. Yeah, and just try to like put your feet in someone else's shoes and lace them up for a little bit mentally. You know what I'm saying? Like just try to imagine what they could be going through and how you can make it easier, just because you would want it done for you.
Thank you so much, Miss Cleo. And you, Miss S?
What was the question again?
If there was one message you could leave with the listeners about autism awareness and acceptance, what would it be?
To just do your research. Um, Learn all you can about it. Try be a helping hand for somebody else who don't have it. It's very frustrating for I feel like anybody who are around children with autism, whether they're working with them, whether you're their parent. So just be there for them, like support them, support the parent as well, because the parent needs the support too. And for the parents, just I don't know, I don't even know, like just just learn all you can, learn their language, learn how to deal with them, learn their likes, their dislikes, learn them. And
Thank you. And then I have a question now. Um, I usually don't talk politics on here, but I have been seeing, and I want you three ladies, because you guys are all from this field and know a little bit more than I do, and probably can help debunk the fear that some people are putting out there with false information, or it could be true information. Who knows? You guys probably know more than I do. But I go through dark rabbit holes. A lot of people do that. Um, I've been seeing that I'm not going to say who, but I'm going to say in Washington, D.C., they're planning, if your child has been um, labeled with autism, to send them to a camp to get rid of their autistic behaviors or their autism. How true or how not true is that? Or how true or how not true do you think that is? And if you do not want to answer because you do not know, that is more than fine.
It sounds like a concentration camp. It sounds like
And I can send you the TikTok videos, which I watched this from, and I went down like, I'm like, and there's more than just one. So I'm like, but then I think about the HIPAA laws and things like that, but it's saying like it's together with the CDC, so it's like now you're gonna make parents even scared to get their kids diagnosed.
Yeah, I'm hoping that a lot of the things that are being talked about, and I put in quotes because a lot of things get flown out, but not a lot of things get voted on and stick and made into a bill. Um, so I'm going to hope that these things that are being talked about don't get made into a bill, because at the end of the day, it it's like mind blowing. It reminds me of how in the 1700s they thought that they could zap um, the gay out of you, that they could just, hook you up to a machine and then you won't have mental health anymore, or you won't feel a certain way or think a certain way or do a certain thing. That's what it sounds like to me. And it sounds very scary. So I understand the fear. But let's just hope that it'll never go anywhere besides some random rumored conversation.
And I'm sorry that I hit you ladies with this question, but I wouldn't be Unfiltered K if I did not come with the what do you guys think about this? Miss K, I'm gonna unmute you. If you have nothing to say, it's okay. I'll just mute you right back up, but I don't know if you know how to unmute and mute. So with all love, hold on.
I don't know how to unmute. This TikTok thing is all new to Miss K.
That's okay, it's okay.
Um, I don't know too much about it, so I'm not going to comment. I like to do my own research about it a little bit more. Um, it doesn't sound that great to me. Anything this administration put out, personally, I don't trust. So that's just my personal unfiltered feedback. But I would like to, I can't speak too much to it because I don't know about it, and this is the first time I'm hearing about it. So this is very interesting to me. I'm gonna look it up,
If
do some more
anything, Miss
research
K,
about it.
if anything, Miss K, I'll send like I have to send Stacy, I'll send Miss Cleo, and I'll send you ladies the videos that I've
Sure.
seen because it's just I know a lot of moms who are in here today, and also a lot of moms who have talked to me on the side because we have dealt with my daughter, and we're like my daughter is loved on my platform. Everyone's an aunt here for my daughter, and so it's just hold on, I'm gonna mute you real quick and I'm
Yes,
gonna unmute
please.
you. So it was just things. Yep, her picture's down there. They're putting her sticker down there. But she is very loved, and we besides this, my other co-host, is his son has autism, and we know a lot of children in our unfiltered gang circle that are autistic. So I didn't do this just for Kyra, or I didn't do this just for my baby girl. I did it for everyone in the unfiltered family and the unfiltered family's immediate family and their circles, because you don't know who might need this. So at the end of the day, it's just information to go out there. We all need to know, like, what the truth is behind the lies, what's a myth and what's not the myth. Like how to help these kids. Because Kyra was almost nonverbal, and right now she can tell me no, 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 no. She is, I can say from her, she is amazing. She has her moments like every other child. But I've learned from three amazing teachers that she has that different ways to cope with it, different things that she knows how to do. She just doesn't do them with me. She'll do them with the teachers. She'll just won't do it with me or with dad. She with me and with dad, it's like whatever. And like I'm telling you, like this is just things. But I will send you ladies the videos. Um, But thank you, Miss Cleo. Thank you, Miss K. Thank you, Miss S, for joining Unfiltered the podcast and for the amazing work you ladies do. You're truly making a difference. And to everyone tuning in, remember awareness is the first step, but acceptance and action are where the real change happens. Keep showing love, keep learning, and keep breaking the silence. Until next time, it's your girl Kay. Stay real instead of stay raw. Stay kind and stay unfiltered. Have a good night, guys.